Hello, this is Kira of Kira K Designs, and I'm recording this video for the Natural Fiber Fair, which is an annual event in Arcata, California. It's one of the yarn shows that I really love going to because everyone is so happy to be there. People come from all over Humboldt County, and it's run by a really amazing group of volunteers who, again, are so happy to be there, even though I know that they put in a lot of work ahead of time and are probably a little tired by the time festival weekend runs around. This year, because of the pandemic, the event is virtual and it doesn't have all of the features that it normally does, but usually they're great classes, really yummy food on site, which is so nice for vendors to have that available, and lots of demonstrations, kind of make and take projects, and a really big spinning circle that will be happening virtually with different crafts as well this year. I generally attend as a vendor, so I bring a booth with lots of my samples of my designs for knitting and crochet and quite a few kits that feature indie yarn. What I decided to do for the virtual event is to record this video, and I'm going to be showing all of my designs that are new since the last time that I went to the Natural Fiber Fair. So anyone who doesn't go to that show might find this interesting as well, because it's my newer designs. So first up is the Overlay Cowl, and this one is really fun. It is a big long loop done in slip stitch and knit in a tube, so you can't ever get to the wrong side. It's all hidden in there. It starts with a provisional cast on, and then you get going in this nice slip stitch pattern in two colors, and eventually it's grafted together. This particular one, the background color is a gradient dyed alpaca yarn from Black Diamond Alpacas, which is a ranch near me, and the owners have gotten to be friends over the years. And it's really fun to watch the colors change as you keep knitting through the cowl. This is the larger size, which is quite large and good for doubling up. I also have on the pattern a shorter version of it. And this particular one is made with odds and ends and mini skeins. So I had a bunch of leftover greens, and I just put together all the ones that I thought looked good, found a nice contrast that would show up with all of them, and all of this is what I think of as free yarn, stuff that I already had, which is kind of fun. For the larger version, I do have kits for those on my online web shop with the Black Diamond Alpacas gradient yarn, and then also the contrast from Houndstooth Fiber Arts. Next up, and I've got two different color options to show this one. This is called the Cyclic Cowl, and it is a crocheted cowl that ends up seamless because you stitch it together at the end. And this one is knitted wit yarn, which is what I have in the kits. There's a background color that stays constant throughout, and then 6 different mini skeins, and you kind of keep shifting through them as you work. Again, really fun to see the colors change. I find that projects like this get done fast because you're excited, or I'm excited at least, to get to the next color, and then you're excited to get to the next color after that, and so it's hard to put them down. This one is really nice for people who are newer crocheters. If you've taken a beginning crochet class and have the basic stitches down, it's a really great next step because you get to practice everything from single, half, double, double, and triple, and back again. And it's a good one for learning to read a pattern if you haven't done that, because it's not too tricky, but it'll get you used to the reading of instructions. And then this is the same cowl, just a different color combination. Again, neutrals with a rainbow, but looks a little different than the darker one. I often like to do that with my patterns to show at least 2 different yarns so that you get an idea of how different yarns will work in the pattern, how different colors will look. Maybe I'll do a wool yarn and a non-wool yarn. This one is made with Malabrigo sock as the background, and then Alpenglow yarn is the mini skeins. That one's not available these days, but that's another project that would work well with odds and ends and leftovers if you have things in colors that you like together. Right, next up is a Tunisian crochet pattern. This is my first Tunisian crochet design, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last. It's called the Wind and Sea Shawl. And it's another one that has one main color that stays the same, and then a set of mini skeins. These ones are from Knitted Wit, and I do have kits for this one as well. Tunisian crochet, if you haven't tried it, is really fun and unusual. It's done with a long crochet hook or a shorter hook with a cord attached and a stopper at the end. And as you work on every row, you do a forward pass where you pick up lots and lots of loops on your hook, and a return pass where you crochet off those loops and get back down to one loop. So in some ways, it feels to me a bit like a mix of knitting and crochet. And sometimes I have beginning crochet students who already knit, and they start doing Tunisian crochet on their own because as knitters they want to have a lot of loops. It feels like they should. Getting down to one loop just doesn't make as much sense to them. So this is a larger size, and there's also a smaller one, which works really nicely as neckwear. And the shape is this offset triangle. I always think it's fun in designing to come up with different shapes and kind of experiment with how it will fit on the body. This one was fun to do and made the shaping pretty easy for somebody who's on the newer side of Tunisian crochet. Now I'm just going to turn this lady around for the next one because it looks really lovely, especially from the back. This is called the Prismatic Honeycomb Shawl, and it is a modular knit design. Oh, it's so dark and hard to see. Let me bring it a little closer. It's a modular knit design that's made with these hexagons that are joined together as you're knitting. So there's no seaming. Everything's done seamlessly. And you work your way through 10 different hexagons. And then at the end, you use a full skein to do an edging that mimics that shape. I'm sorry, this one's a little dark in the lighting that I've got right here. I'll definitely have better pictures online. And I do have kits for this in this yarn, which is from Wonderland Dye Works. 10 mini skeins and 1 full skein. This is a larger size. There is a smaller size on the pattern as well. Right. Bring her back around. Next up, I have a crocheted scarf that I like a lot. This is called the Amplitude Scarf, and it's called that because of this long wave pattern. And it's done with 2 colors of yarn. I've got kits in a few different color combinations, and it's worked the long way. It's another one that's great for a newer crocheter who wants to learn how to read stitch patterns or stitch diagrams, which show it visually, or just wants to practice all the different stitches in one project. I've got the yarn here from Earl Grey Fiber Company, and it's really just lovely yarn to work with, and I added a nice fringe on there matching the stripes, so it's really almost more of a tassel than a fringe, just to continue the fun. Next up, I have another Tunisian crochet design. So again, that big long hook, getting lots of loops on your forward pass and then crocheting them off. And this is called the Interlocking Tiles Collar because this stitch pattern, which is Tunisian full stitch, reminds me a lot of tile work, especially the little tiny subway tiles. So I've used a variegated yarn here. You can also do it in a solid yarn for sure, or something that's a little less contrasting. But personally, I don't tend to crochet a lot with highly variegated yarns like this because the colors can land a little bit oddly. Most dyers are dyeing for knitting, and knitting uses up yarn at a different rate than crochet. So if you're a crocheter and you have some variegated yarn that you love in a skein and you've never crocheted up, I highly recommend trying Tunisian crochet. Because every row has that forward pass and return pass, the yarn is used at a different rate. It kind of slows it down. You don't get lumps of color in the same way that you might in, say, double crochet. Right, this one is one of my current favorites. It's called the Cellular Shawl. This is the smaller version, or the shawlette. There's a larger version as well, but I've got it on loan to a shop right now, so I don't have the sample with me. This is knit sideways with garter stitch. So you start at this narrow end and you're increasing and decreasing to create this really pretty curved triangle shape. And then as you get towards the end, you go into a slip stitch pattern with a contrast color and keep the shaping going so you get a little curve at this end as well. So this bigger version works well either wrapped around your neck to be nice and cozy or over your shoulders. Even the small one you can put over your shoulders if you want a little bit more coverage. Turn her around again. This next one is my latest design that came out just earlier this summer. It is a crocheted shrug called the Tricolor Shrug, and it was part of a collaboration of Bay Area yarn shops, Bay Area dyers and Bay Area designers. Hence Sun and Fog is the name, because we have quite a varied weather system around here. So this is just a little shrug, really nice for a little layer, something to put on over a sundress. This version is in yarn from Valley Yarns. This one is the original, which uses yarn from a shop near me called the Royal Bee Yarn Company. And she does naturally dyed yarns that are spun specifically for her. Shrugs are kind of funny. They never look great on a hanger, but they look really cute on a body. There we go. So this is 3 different colors, worked in 1 row stripes, no cutting, and done totally seamlessly. You do the back and then start going around, which creates this edging that wraps around the body and also the fold over collar. And I will pull this closer just so you can see the stitch pattern a little bit better. It's a nice first crocheted garment if you're a crocheter and haven't moved past accessories. It's definitely a lot less work than a sweater, a little easier to fit, and in the pattern I have multiple sizes, but there's also a few times where I stop and say, hey, try it on. If you need more room in the arms, add some stitches. If you need to make this longer, make it longer or shorter. So it's pretty customizable and easy to try on as you go to change it if needed. Okay, well those are all the new things. I definitely hope that by the next time I come to the Natural Fiber Fair, which hoping for 2021, I'll have some new designs then as well. For now, all of my patterns are available on my own website, which is kirakdesigns.com. They're also available on Lovecrafts and on Ravelry. And if you are local to the Arcata area, the shop Yarn in Eureka also carries quite a few of my patterns as professionally printed hard copies. For kits, those are all on my website as well, so kirakdesigns.com, and click on kits and you can see what I've got. I generally ship things the very next business day, but at least within a couple of days, and they should arrive quickly. If you have questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me an email. Thanks so much. Bye.